I've been there and I get it. I wanted to be successful and I didn't know how yet because, well, I wasn't successful yet. So I did what I thought was the right thing and I asked for advice. I found people who I considered to be successful and I asked them what it took to get to where they were and what I needed to do. I was looking for a formula, but what I found was beyond generic and unhelpful. I felt really frustrated and I didn't understand why these successful people wouldn't just tell me what to do. Were they being stingy? Or was there simply not a formula for success? Do we all have to, quote, find our own way? What I want to know is this the truth? I think there are two reasons why people declare that there is no formula for success. The first is simply because they don't know what the formula is, and so they say there isn't one. The second reason, and I think that this is true most of the time, is that there isn't a formula for generic success. And so when people try to give success advice or tell you what the secret to success is, they tell you really, really generic things. Let me give you an analogy here. What if you were to ask, is there a recipe for making good food? What would the answer to that question be? Is there a recipe for making good food? Well, yes and no, but mostly no, right? There are principles you can follow to make good food, like having a balance between salty, sweet, savory, and bitter, using fat and salt to enhance flavor generally, but not always, and making sure that you taste what you're cooking and you adjust from there. Those are principles for making good food, but they're not a recipe for good food per se. There are lots of recipes out there that would make things that we would call good food, but there can't be an overarching recipe for good food because good food means lots of different things. Well, success is exactly the same. Success can mean so many different things to so many different people. You could be a successful Olympic athlete, a successful mom. You could build a successful business or a successful sporting goods store or a successful marketing agency. You could become financially successful, or you could be healthy or intelligent or connected or happy and call any of those things success. And of course, the point here is not at all that there's a right way or a wrong way to be successful, but that success means different things to different people, and what people call success can look like a lot of different things. And because of that, there isn't, and there really can't be, a step-by-step formula for generic success, because there isn't such a thing as generic success. And that's why so much success advice seems so generic in and of itself, because it's one-size-fits-all advice. It's advice that can help you regardless of what type of success you're trying to create. But it's not specific advice or the specific step-by-step that you need in order to achieve any one of those flavors of success. Now, I just want to emphasize here that just because a lot of the success advice that's out there is generic, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad advice. It can be great advice. It just isn't going to be enough to get you all the way in any specific pursuit. Because everyone is in different circumstances and has different ideas of what success looks like, there can't be a one-size-fits-all approach. At least not for big picture goals or this big picture idea of success. But big picture success is made up of lots of small milestones, lots of small stepping stones that get you there. And there definitely are formulas for reaching those specific milestones. Just like we can't have a recipe for, quote, good food, that doesn't mean we can't have a very specific, very precise recipe for making an amazing chocolate cake. I'll also acknowledge here that even if you have an amazing proven recipe for chocolate cake, that doesn't always mean that it will work every time. There might be something wrong with one of your ingredients that you don't realize. Your dog might run through the kitchen while you're baking the chocolate cake and knock you over, spilling everything. There are certainly unique challenges that can come up. Or another example, the recipe itself could be perfect, but if you need glasses in order to be able to read and you're not wearing your glasses, then the recipe won't work for you, even though it's a great recipe for chocolate cake. So yes, there can be proven formulas for achieving short-term specific outcomes, and those formulas can really work. But there are still things that can potentially come up that could stop them from working for you right now. So going back to that original problem I was trying to solve. How do you become successful? What do I need to do to become successful? A lot of people told me you just have to find your own way. You just have to figure it out on your own. You have to learn by doing. And so many people talk about being self-made or figuring things out all on their own. But what do people really mean when they say that? Most of the time they mean that they weren't formally educated or formally trained, that they learned things on their own. But really what that looks like is learning individual specific things and figuring out things by trial and error. You have to somehow figure out how to do the specific things that are those stepping stones to your ultimate success. Even someone who others would say is completely self-made didn't reinvent the wheel. They didn't make all the pencils that they used to write the manuscript for their amazing novel. They learned from others, they used tools that they got from others, and they strung all of those tools, all of those lessons, all of those small successes together to ultimately become successful. And how many people do this is they look at other people who have gone before them, who've already achieved the result that they're looking to achieve, or at least have done the small specific things, and they see how they did it. They might learn from them in the sense of learning from a mentor, where they're talking to them and getting feedback on their progress, or they might read books, or they might watch videos online. Google could be their best friend, but somehow or other, we learn from others. Because if we have to invent everything ourselves, if we have to figure everything ourselves out by trial and error, every tiny little specific step of the process, then we'll never reach our ultimate goal of success because it would take far too long. Now, the more intentionally that you're able to do this, the more you're able to know what those small successes need to be and intentionally learn from others rather than just drifting through life trying to figure it out on your own, the more quickly you'll be able to reach success. To make this as practical as possible, I'm going to walk you through a formula that you can use to find the formula for success that you're looking for. Okay, let's do this. Step number 1 is to define success. That means answering questions like, what do you really want? What type of success are you trying to attain? And what would that look like? Answer each of these questions in detail. I would highly recommend writing down the answers so that you can work on refining your answers over time. I've heard so many times the advice that you need to get clear on your goals, figure out what you're really trying to achieve. People say that's the secret to success. And I think I finally understand why that is. The more clear you are about what you're trying to achieve, the more obvious it will be what you need to do in order to reach that outcome. If you're just trying to become successful and you have no idea what success looks like, then maybe you should be practicing at the track, running laps every day at the track. Maybe you should be practicing in the kitchen. Maybe you should be working on building your audience. Maybe you should be making videos every day. Maybe you should be investing your money or looking for new investment opportunities. You have no idea, and you can't possibly do all those different things. So that's why you have to get clear on what success looks like first in as much detail as possible so that you can narrow down the list of things that you need to do in order to reach that success. Once you've completed step 1 and have defined success, then you can move on to step 2, and that is to find people who have achieved that outcome that you're looking to achieve, that specific outcome. Because if you're trying to become a successful basketball player, you're going to seek out someone completely different than if you're trying to become a successful online course creator. And even if you're just trying to become a successful online course creator, that could look like a few different things. Maybe you want to build a big business with a big team and hit multi-million-dollar sales marks. Or maybe you just want to be a solopreneur who's one big launch per year or one really effective evergreen funnel. And you want to work all on your own and just make plenty of money so that you can travel around the world and have the freedom to live as you like. You would seek out very different people to get advice from in those 2 different situations. At this point, you're ready for step 3, and here you have 2 different paths you can take, depending on who you found. Now, if you found some role models who are more elusive, they're people who you can't really get in contact with directly, maybe because they're too big and successful or too popular, well, in that case, you'll want to learn from them by following them on social media, reading their books if they have books, listening to their podcast, basically just putting out any kind of content that they've put out, but also content that's about them. So you might find a biography of this person or news articles that explain the strategy that they used to reach their level of success. On the other hand, if you find people who are closer to home, maybe people who you have connections with or people who aren't that difficult to get in contact with, then you can actually reach out to them and ask them questions directly. If you're going this route, make sure that you don't just ask them generic, general questions. Don't just ask them how to be successful or how did you get to where you are. Tell them, I want to achieve X, Y, Z. I want to accomplish this. I want to do that. And ask them, what do I need to do to get there? Now, 9 times out of 10, whether you're studying people from afar or you're talking directly to them, they're not going to lay out a complete step-by-step plan for you. And that's simply because there are too many small steps along the way, too many nuances to really achieving that success. And also, your circumstance is going to be unique and different from theirs was, and there will be unique challenges that you have to overcome in order to reach success for yourself. But what these people can do is they can give you the right direction to head in. They can point you in the right direction. They can give you the broad strokes of the plan that you need to follow to eventually reach success. And that leads you to step 4, which is to make a plan. Whatever your mentor tells you you need to do in order to reach that goal, you need to write it down. I'd recommend writing it down as a step-by-step plan. Yes, there will be holes. No, you won't know how to do everything on the list. And yes, you will have to fill in a lot more steps along the way. But you need to start with this big picture perspective, and you need to write it down so that you can really capture this information and you can revisit it time and time again. Understand that it is 100% to be expected that you won't know how to execute the entire plan. And that is completely okay. All you need to know how to do is the very first step. And if you don't know how to do the first step, then your first step becomes learn how to do the first step. You might do that by Googling, you might do that by seeking out a mentor or some advice on how to do that first step, but that is what your first step will be. Just learning how to do the first step so that you can do what will now be your next step. As you progress through your plan, you'll find that you get momentum and that each next step will reveal itself. Both in the sense that you will figure out how to do every next step that you need to do, but also in the sense that those missing steps that I referenced earlier on that you need to fill in, they're going to fill themselves in. As you get to each new step of the plan, you'll know if it's the next step you really need to take, or if there's something you need to do before you can do that thing. And that leads us to the 5th and final step of this process of finding a formula for success, which is to take action on the next step of your plan. Which when you're first starting out, that'll be just the very first step. Like I said before, you might not know how to do that first step yet, in which case your first step will be to figure out how to do that first step. I figured out this quote, formula for success, first by just stumbling around a whole lot, trying to become successful and really struggling, and then by finally realizing that in order to achieve that success that I ultimately wanted to achieve, I had to do it by stringing individual small successes together. And I realized this when I saw how far I had come and the fact that I had achieved all these small things along the way. Still wasn't to my ultimate goal, but I'd made so much progress. And this is actually what led me to create Startup Society. When I first started the program, I just knew that I was so fed up with all the generic advice that was out there. I wanted someone to give me this really practical and actionable step-by-step advice. When I started the program, I definitely hadn't achieved my big picture idea of success, but I had figured out a lot of things. I had created my website, I'd figured out a process for consistently signing and paying clients, I'd started and grown a successful YouTube channel, I'd built an evergreen funnel for my courses, I'd created online courses, I'd done a lot of things. And I had to figure out all those things through trial and error, through a lot of wandering around aimlessly and searching out and just doing a lot of research. So now that I had figured out how to do those things, I wanted to just tell other people, here's exactly how I did it, so that they could duplicate my results and just get that shortcut to at least achieving that short-term goal. When I started the program, I actually had a lot of people tell me that what I was trying to do was impossible, that there was no formula for success out there, and there couldn't be because success is unique and completely individual, and what works for one person won't work for another person. So they told me that what I was trying to do, it just couldn't be done. I couldn't make a program that would help people become successful. But if there's one thing you should know about me, it's that if you tell me something is impossible or can't be done, it just makes me that much more determined to do it. It becomes this impossible problem that I just have to solve. And so I became obsessed with this idea of figuring out what success really meant, how it is achieved, and is there a formula for success, and how can we figure that out? And that's how I figured out that success, this big picture idea of success, is really just lots of small successes strung together. And then if we can figure out what those small successes need to be, then we can learn how to achieve each of those things, and we can ultimately reach our big goal. And that's what led me to where I am today, where now inside Startup Society, what happens is we each month create these very step-by-step, very actionable action plans. They're like mini courses for how to achieve specific results. Because, well, no, there isn't a formula for big picture success because, like I've said so many times in this episode, success means different things to different people. When a member comes inside Startup Society, they can first work on getting clarity about what success looks like to them and what they're trying to achieve. And most people who come into Startup Society have a pretty similar objective. They want to build an online business that allows them to work for themselves and also hit their big financial goals. And while different people need to do different things to ultimately hit that goal, what's really cool is because most of the members have a similar goal, we've been able to think through all the different things that they might need to do to hit that goal and then create these action plans to guide them through the process of doing each of those things. And that way, whatever someone needs to do or whatever challenge or obstacle they need to overcome on their way, they can just look through the library of action plans, find the one they need, and then follow the steps for that short-term goal. Now, if we had tried to create a completely cohesive one-size-fits-all approach that everyone just needs to follow, then obviously it wouldn't have worked for most of the members because most people have unique situations and different challenges that they're facing. But by making it more modular in this way, we really made it so it can work for anyone. Now, if this model sounds interesting to you, then there's a link down below that you can click to learn more about Startup Society. But even if that's not where you're at right now, there's still a really valuable lesson that you can learn from the approach that we take in the program. You can start by defining what success looks like to you and what you're ultimately trying to achieve. And then from there, you can backwards engineer what different things you're going to need to accomplish in order to reach that big goal. And then figuring out what you need to do to accomplish each of those milestones is a lot simpler than trying to figure out what you need to do to reach that big ultimate goal. We've really proven this strategy for creating a formula for success over the past several years of working with the Startup Society members, and I'm excited to be sharing it with you today in this video so that you can use this strategy to create your own formula for success. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to let me know by hitting that thumbs up button so that I know to make more videos like this in the future. And I would also love to hear what your big goals are so that maybe I can make videos related to those specific topics in the future. So just leave me a comment down below, tell me what your biggest goal is, and maybe also share what the biggest obstacle standing in your way is. That would give me a lot of great ideas for future videos and also help to inspire others. One last thing before we wrap this up, I've noticed that a lot of new people are watching my videos lately, so if you happen to be one of them, then make sure you subscribe before you go. That's all for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you are having an amazing week. I'll see you back again next week, same time, same place.